Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond Sunday Morning, a video Bible series that we've been doing in order to inspire, inform, and impact your life beyond the Sunday morning worship experience. We take the Bible lessons that we do on Sunday morning and we allow them to shape our weekly experiences, the conversations that we have, the unexpected, the annoying, as well as the beautiful, the experiences that we have that lift our spirits and remind us that God is not done with us yet. Well, this week we've been doing a series on spiritual formation. We've been doing particularly on prayer. We began by talking about prayer is dangerous. We invite God to do what only God can do. We open ourselves to God's perspective and allow God to shape our lives. We talked about being a dangerous prayer, inviting God to say, Our Father, that sense of intimacy that we have. That sense of the parent that knowing what we know, the future that lies ahead of us. We talked about the most dangerous prayer, the prayer that Jesus prayed at Gethsemane. Not my will, but thy will be done. I wonder if you'd be willing to pray that on a weekly basis as you face the circumstances that come at you on a regular basis. Last week, we talked about a breakthrough prayer, a prayer for our church. Because so often we go through habits and routines and we just get into a rut that we don't even see, patterns that shape who we are. And so we invited you, the viewers of this, part of United Methodist Temple or whatever church that you belong to begin to pray for a breakthrough. Not just a tweak, not just to increase what we're already doing or add more people and add more money, but a fundamental shift in the way we do things. We imagined being in the wilderness with the Hebrews. They just left Egypt. They're in the wilderness. They're not exactly sure where they're going. And they say, God, make sure that we can follow your path. The column of smoke by day, the fire by night, guide us, lead us to the promised land. We find ourselves, after a pandemic, in a wilderness experience. Where do we go from here? What does the future look like? We need a breakthrough. And so we invited you to begin to pray. We offered everybody a prayer magnet with a prayer on it, allowing us to continue to shape who we are and what we can become. Well, this week, let's jump into this week. I began by thinking about an imagination prayer. Imagine if you began each week confident that God was going with you, that when your feet hit the ground, that you knew God was planning something spectacular. And what you had to do is go through each day, experiencing all these events, knowing that God had them planned for a particular purpose. How would your conversations be different? How would your expectations be changed? Would your day just be another boring routine, or would it come alive with expectation and wonder? Well, the Lord's Prayer has part of that moment where we experience the wonders, the imagination. We dream big dreams, and we ask God to lead us into the future. At the end of Luke's Gospel, at the end of chapter 11 in Luke, where he tells about the Lord's Prayer, he ends by saying, remember, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened. It's a sense of which you have to be motivated to drive, to move forward, to believe that God has bigger plans in store for you. So this week we took on the final part of the Lord's Prayer. So often we look at this last part and we can think about what's in it for me? What do I get out of it? And so we pray things like, Father, give our daily bread. We want certain things. Give me confidence to know I'm going to get mine, that I'm going to be taken care of. And yet I'm not sure that Jesus just meant that we would find a comfy banquet before us. I'm not sure that he's really talking about bread in terms of our prosperity and our food. As a matter of fact, in the wilderness experience, when he was greatly tempted, after 40 days he was desperate, he was hungry. All you have to do is take care of your daily bread. And he said, no, that's not what it's about. It is not just about our bread, but every word from the mouth of God. So Jesus took bread as an opportunity to think spiritually about what we're feasting on. And so I want you to think about that as well. When Jesus invites us to, give us our daily bread, don't give us an abundance, but keep us hungry. Hungry not just to fill our bellies, but to fill our souls. Keep us motivated, keep us driving, keep us curious. Keep us looking as we think about the adventure prayer. I've always wondered about those adventurers that followed Lewis and Clark into the new territory, uncharted world, that invitation to explore, to experience what nobody else had ever seen, to go into a land and to report back the wonders. One of the amazing things about that story is all those that came back were fundamentally changed by the experience. When we allow God to do what God can do, it leaves you changed. It leaves a mark on you. Your life will never be the same. So the first prayer that we offer, give us this day our daily bread. Keep us hungry each and every day for more beauty, for more wonder, for more curiosity. Don't let us become complacent and comfy. Because oftentimes when that happens, we just kind of sit down by the side of the road and we vegetate. And pretty soon, that sense of apathy, it really turns into atrophy. All of our spiritual nerves, our energy, our vitality are just drained away by the comfort and the ease. One of the best tools that the devil has is to make you comfy and complacent right where you are. Somebody once said, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. The challenge for all of us is, are you still active? Are you still alive? Are you still vibrant in your faith? Still pushing, still learning, still growing? Are you hungry for more of the spiritual bread, the manna from heaven that God offers to you? Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. That second phrase is sort of conditional, right? How are you doing forgiving others? Living out the values that you confess? How well are you demonstrating the faith that we demonstrate here every Sunday? Is it conditional? When you look at how you're living out among your neighbors, your friends, is it obvious to them about your faith? This second phrase is about self-reflection. Taking time to say, are we on the right path? The wonderful thing about autumn, with the changing leaves, with the dynamics of the cooler weather coming in, it just sort of stirs something in you, doesn't? Wonder, this is the time of harvest. And you wonder, am I on the right path? I can't help but wonder, in this busy, noisy, chaotic world that we live in, so often we don't really address what's really going on in us. What is life really about? Is my life on the right path? Am I doing what I know I ought to do? This second phrase, forgive me as I forgive others, it is a moment of self-reflection, of making a choice every day, deciding, who am I going to become? With God's help, God, am I on the right path? Am I doing what I know I ought to do? Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Now, oftentimes it thinks about, do we really have to ask God to deliver us from evil? Isn't that obvious? Well, so often the focus is that we think that evil is somewhere else, focusing somewhere else. What this prayer does is it invites us to recognize the temptations that are all around us, the decisions that we make, that the little things that happen can have big ramifications. Lead us not into temptation means not just becoming complacent, but continue in the fight and the struggle. I love C.S. Lewis one time said, that Jesus coming onto the scene, the coming of the kingdom, is like D-Day landing on the shores of Normandy. It's breaking upon us. Give us that sense of energy, that sense of enthusiasm. Help us to see the battle that is going on around us. Help us continue to pursue and continue to push. Continue to see the world as it really is, not as we want it to be. The temptation is to always say, well, that's always someone else's problem, or that's going to affect somebody else. And we fail to see that God is moving in the small, momentary things. It's like being here in West Virginia with so many trees, so glorious, and yet all we can see is the burden of raking leaves. We don't see the bus tours that are coming through to experience the glory, the beauty, the majesty that God is displaying all around us, and yet we turn a blind eye. The greatest temptation is to see the wonders of God before you and yet not recognize God in them. The temptation is to ignore what God has put before you. Help us, O God, to avoid the temptation and the evil to turn a blind eye. Well, friends, I hope that this Bible study, this beyond Sunday morning, is helping you, inspiring you. The challenge that I always have is invite one more person into this story. Bring light to their lives. Help them cut through the clutter, the noise, and the confusion, and help them see that God is doing a new thing. He's making a way in the wilderness. He's making rivers in the desert. Maybe He could do that for your friend or your family as well. Well, friends, until next time, I hope that you will continue to dig into what God is doing. He keeps you hungry. I hope that you take a moment to see yourself in the biblical story of what God is doing, and that you're able to avoid the temptation of assuming that it's all for someone else, or it's all for just Sunday morning. Together, we'll continue to dig deeper, we'll continue to experience new wonders, and we'll grow together beyond Sunday morning. Hey, until next time, God bless.